Hey, what's up, Exit the Matrix family? Bob here. Hey guys, I hope you're having a great day. Thank you for joining me on this morning talk. Just a heads up, I'm going to probably struggle with this one, guys. I don't know. Last night before bed, all of a sudden I got a just horrendous sore throat. And it was hard to sleep last night. It was so bad, it kept waking me up. And I took some sore throat lozenges. Sorry, I can't even say that word. Sore throat medicine this morning, and it helps a little, but it's like it'll numb your mouth, but it never gets to your throat, And I ate some honey. Sometimes honey helps. It kind of goes in and coats it, but it wears off pretty quick. So, anyways. Took some elderberry stuff, and hopefully that'll help today. Don't know where it came from, just came out of nowhere, but so we'll struggle through today. I may have to take drinks of coffee in the middle of the talk here to just keep going. But anyways, guys, so I wanted to jump back into the video game theory. This third part, I want to make it about NPCs. A lot of you hear this term going around now. It's kind of made it into the mainstream. There's a lot of us that were talking about that years ago, before anybody even had an inkling of what that meant. But for those of you that play video games, you guys know what it means. An NPC is a non-playable character or non-player character, right? They're like say in a game like Skyrim, a role-playing game, they're the computer programs, the characters that give you quests, and they're like the merchants. And I mean, look, folks, NPCs have been around in video gaming since the Nintendo time. I mean, maybe older than that. But if you remember Zelda, the original Zelda, that was like the little shopkeepers and stuff, right? You go in there and you buy a sword and shield from them and bombs or whatever, right? So those were very early versions of an NPC in a video game. And of course now, I mean, they're even starting to use AI and stuff with a lot of these NPC characters. So they have a larger vocabulary, they're more interactive. So it's kind of interesting. It'll be really wild to see, where these role-playing games are in the next 10 years. I mean, you'll probably be able to sit there and have conversations with these NPCs in these games, and they're gonna anything that probably has to do with that game, with that large language model based on the game itself. They'll be able to pretty much talk about anything within that world, right? So it'll be interesting, folks. I think video games parallel our own awakening in this world, and I think video games give us a window into the Matrix, because we're essentially starting to create our own matrices within a matrix. That's essentially what a role-playing game is. It's called a role-playing game because you go and you play the game to play a role of a character, a magician or what they call a mage, right? Or a warrior or an archer or whatever, And so we do the same thing essentially on Earth. We're, the human avatar is it's like a character, right? That we're playing, that we're role playing while we're here. It's not our true higher self, our spirit. It's a programmed character that we play that's based on the programming that since the day you came out of the womb into this realm that you incarnated. You've been being programmed since day one, by your parents, by religion, by your schools, your teachers, your in-laws, your friends, your classmates, the media, entertainment, and video games and pop culture, right? Social media now. So that is your character. That's this character, this false self. People, a lot of spiritualists call the ego, right? That's this character you're playing, and you think it's you because this game is so intense. It's so immersive. This realm, the simulation, the matrix, it's so real to you, and because you don't know where you came from and what you truly are, you take on that character and you play that role. And so we're experiencing on a macro level what you do in a micro level in a game like Skyrim. And it's interesting to note that you play. Why would you play a game like Skyrim? Well, I mean, it's a visually beautiful game. It's been around for like 10 plus years and it's still popular. And yeah, they've upgraded the graphics a little and, you know, some add-ons and stuff like that. But the reason you play a game like that is to get lost from this world for a little bit. It's an escape. You get to take on the role of a new character, a different character. Then you get to go have adventures, and you know, and you have all these quests you got to do, and it's really just an escape. It's an experience, right? It's something different. Well, folks, I've mentioned this before, in a lot of NDEs this comes up. Well, why do we even come to Earth? This Earth is so hard. It's hard here. It's, to some people, torture being here. You know, and obviously I don't look at it that way. It's a good and bad thing. Look, it's duality. So you experience the full spectrum, right? Of negative and positive. But we come here to play a character. Same thing, the human avatar. That is not us. And it's interesting to note that these people, what they always mention, or not always, but a lot of them have mentioned, is that when asked, well, why did we come here? When they ask on the other side, they say, because we wanted to. It was an experience. It's a learning experience. And I've heard a few even say that spirits get bored in the higher dimensions. I mean, you wouldn't think that pure love and light and all that could become boring, but look, if that's all you experience and you never experience anything else, then yes, I could see how that is possible. Which is very interesting. Once again, are we in layers of matrix here? Are we already part of a I don't know how to say this, maybe a civilization that millions of years ago created our own metaverses and stuff, and like Matrix, and escaped physical reality, and we've just kept creating virtual reality after virtual reality, layers and layers of it that you could call dimensions, and that to the point that, but where the consciousness never goes away, the consciousness is the one thing that remains throughout all of creation. So it's like we built layers and layers of these simulations so that, I don't know. I just like kind of lost my train of thought there for a moment, folks. I was on to something like really, it was really flowing here. That's weird, man. It's almost like something just blocked my mind all of a sudden. Wow. So what if we escaped the physical reality millions of years ago, and so what we do to get a touch of that physical reality, we just create these simulations to experience so that we can have the illusion of living a physical experience. I don't know, folks. I'm just speculating. I was able to kind of jump back into that thought. Sorry, folks. That was weird, though. It was like all of a sudden it was just like everything went blank and it was like a wall went up. But who knows? Maybe we're questioning things in this reality that we're not meant to question because it ruins the game, right? It's kind of like in a dream. Sorry, folks, man. My throat is just killing me right now. Whew, it's like not one of those dull sore throats. It's like one of those piercing, brutal, like just, man, you swallow and it hurts like hell. But It feels like a fireball going down your throat, you know? Anyways, we're going to punch through this, guys, because this is real important, and we're making some good points here. We're talking about some very deep things. So, anyways, it's almost like we create these realms to experience what we can no longer experience. And the illusion's so strong that we think it's real and true. It's also interesting to note, folks, as far as the human character goes, the avatar, is I found this really interesting. People that have even temporary NDEs where they only pop out of the body and say they don't go to the void or to the life review or any of that stuff. You know, like they pop out, they're watching like the doctors work on them or whatever, and then they're revived, you know, and then they wake back up into the body. What is interesting though is they always say, like, when they're looking down on the body, they say they don't feel sad or have any feelings at all for the human body. It's like they realize at that point that they are not the body. And it's like if you're in that role-playing game, right? Like Skyrim, and you get I hate this word, folks, but my God, the censorship. You get unalived in the game, right? You're in a dungeon or something. And a lot of times it'll go to a cutscene where you're looking down on your body, right? In the game. Well, you're looking on that body, and yeah, you may be mad you died, and now you gotta go back and redo that level or that dungeon or whatever, right? But, you know, you're looking at that avatar, and you're not like, you don't have like a emotional connection to it besides just maybe anger or something that you got to redo the level if you were really deep in it or something, who knows. But you don't look at that as you, it's just the character you were playing. And that's interesting parallel that's what people experience when they have that out of body where they're looking down on their body and they see it laying there, and it's like they're just like looking at it with absolutely no connection whatsoever, like no emotion, like just like, oh wow, well, here I am and there I am, but that's not me now. And they realize they have that epiphany. But it's like that, what I forgot earlier, folks, where I was going with the dream stuff. So, like in a dream, right? You're totally immersed in the dream. And it's like, I mean, while you're in a dream, especially if you're in a deep sleep, you know, pretty good dream, pretty realistic, right? Where you could even maybe have touch and feel and the senses, you know, the lucid dreaming and stuff, I guess they call that, where it's almost totally real, like your perceptions and senses. But what's interesting is if you realize when you're in that dream, maybe something goofy happens and all of a sudden you're like, wait a second here. That does not happen in the real world, right? This has got to be a dream. And it's like weird, folks. It's like as soon as you have that epiphany in a dream, it's like you become self-aware in the dream. All of a sudden, now you can control the dream. What I like to do when that happens is I like to do the one thing that I wish we could do as humans, and we can't, at least in the third dimension, and that's fly. So when I have a epiphany like that, when I wake up, when I'm within a lucid dream or something, right? Right away I start flying, because it's weird too. The sensation, it's almost like that sensation of flying. You know, it's really odd. Like that. It's like you have that memory of what it's like to fly, and it feels so real in your dream. But you can control that dream all of a sudden. Once you realize you become self-aware in the dream, you realize it's just a dream, and now that you're the master of the dream, right? Something else interesting to note, folks, about how that flight feels so real when you're in a dream, right? Like, I bet if we really had the ability to fly, it would have that same sensation. Well, I remember back, this is something I remember when I was young, and it was kind of a weird awakening type thing. It was just like one little thing, but it made me start questioning reality a little bit. And I remember, and look, I was a boy, so you know how boys are. When the hormones get rolling and all that, and you're starting to have new thoughts and ideas. Well, I remember before I ever did the down and dirty, we'll leave it at that. We'll try not to get descriptive here. You know, before I ever, with a girlfriend and all that, I remember that I would have these dreams, and you would be doing the down and dirty in the dream, right? And I remember how it would feel. It was very intense in the dream. And this is before he'd ever experienced it in real life. And then I remember the first time I actually had it. And it was like, wow. Like this literally, it felt pretty much the same as that dream. And I'm not talking about the end, because look, folks, I know when you have one of those dreams as a young boy, you have the ending, right? You know what I'm trying to say, right? I'm trying not to be descriptive here, folks. I'm trying not to get this video like blocked or anything, okay? Just get, you know what I'm saying, right? I'm not talking about that. Obviously, that happens, right? So, yeah, that feeling's obviously real because it will physically happen to you even when you're in the dream. No, I'm talking about the act before that, as if you're really doing it, right? But that's what kind of blew my mind. I remember that first time, after that first time, I should say. Remember that old, what was that, REO Speedwagon? Or I can't remember what that old classic rock band, feels like the very first time, right? Well, anyways, I remember even then, as a teenager, thinking like, wow, that was just like those dreams I used to have. It was like, how did my body know that sensation down to like that detail before it ever actually happened? So, look, folks, what I'm trying to get at here is that we've incarnated here many times, and we played different characters. And there's a part of our consciousness that must leak into this realm that makes us at least aware that we've been here before, makes us aware that this is some kind of game. And yet, to make the game fun to play, you go through the mind wipe and all that when you come here. Because look, imagine if you could go into Skyrim, but instead of just putting on, like, because they have a VR version of Skyrim now, where it's even more immersive than just using your controller and sitting on your couch, right, playing normally. Imagine, though, that if there was a technology that when you put that headset on, that all of a sudden your memory got wiped. Like, it's like you're cut off from your memory, from your knowing. And all of a sudden, while you have that headset on, all you know is that virtual reality that you're experiencing, that game. Something to think about, folks. I mean, really, something to think about there. But back to the NPCs. Now, we know that, like I said, and I'm admitting to it also, look, if there's one single person in this realm that'll sit there and tell you, I'm not an NPC, no, look, we've all been some kind of NPC in this realm. Maybe as you get awakened more, you become less of an NPC, and you start becoming more self-aware and aware of, that there's more to this realm, and start questioning and all that. But look, we've all been programmed, okay? Like I said, since the day we were born. Most of people's trauma goes back to the programming and the experiences that happened to them when they were young children. I mean, you look at it, right? Daddy issues, mommy issues, some bad happened, with the clergy. Sorry, not a joke, but you get my meaning. And all of a sudden, that person carries that all the way out through their adulthood and everything. And now they're mentally unstable, and they have all these issues that they can never get rid of. And you know what I mean? Like, look, we all have, stuff like that we could allude to. But if you look at a lot of our society, you will realize that most people operate like NPCs, complete NPCs. Just like in the movie The Matrix, right? Like where Morpheus is like, you know, showing Neo like, hey, look, you know, you got to realize these are the ones we're like trying to save, trying to wake up. But until they're woken up, you can't, you know, trust them. And I'm just I'm just essentially what he was talking about, right? I'm not saying this word for word or anything, but he was like trying to say like, look, like they're like Mr. Smiths. Like when they're beholden, they're programmed to the Matrix. When you try to interact with them and wake them up and tell them, it's like they become the Mr. Smiths. They fight for the program, for the system. Like it's like even though you're trying to save those people, you got to realize that they are NPCs. They're working primarily on programming. You know, they're so what's the word I'm trying to use here? Man, I don't know if I have a way to perfectly explain this, but it's like they're so beholden to the game, to the Matrix, to the simulation, that because of that, you can't trust them. You can't truly help them yet, you know, because they'll turn against you, right? And like in the movie, right, they all said Mr. Smith can like use the NPCs, the controlled humans that don't know that they're in a simulation and being controlled. Mr. Smith can take over their body and you know, go after like Neo and their whole gang, right? Morpheus and all them. So they use the ones that are asleep to go after the ones that are awake. There we go. Now that's the explanation we're looking for. Well, look at your own family members, folks. Look at your own coworkers, your own, you know, your all the people that you interact with on a daily basis. The people at the stores, the clerks, your teachers, your, you know, whatever, your policemen, your politicians. Most of them are all acting on programming. They're all parts of the system, right? Of the simulation. They're living their lives and they think they're free and they think, oh, I'm just a human having a human experience, but they don't know they're a spirit having a human experience. They don't know that this isn't the true realm that they come from. They don't know that they're here playing a game or experiencing this matrix, right? This construct. And because of that, until they wake up on their own, or, you know, maybe they get help eventually to start waking up, or something triggers them to wake up. Until then, they will fight tooth and nail for the system. They will defend it. They will protect it. Look at it, folks. You know what we went through over the last 4 years, right? Putting things in your bodies. I mean, look at how these people are. I mean, I still go to the grocery store and there's still people wearing masks. I mean, the MK Ultra fear-based mind control programming was powerful. See, what happened was, most people don't realize, is that MK Ultra was a CIA project, and essentially it was a project to learn how they could manipulate assassins and stuff, how they could make assassins do what they're bidding and control their minds. And then they figured out that, hey, this technique of fear-based mind control can be used to control populations too, and to get populations to do our bidding, and to be so afraid that they'll never stand up to us, and to give up their powers, and to manifest what we need them to manifest, not what they should manifest for themselves. And so they rolled it out on the whole world's population. And obviously, look, that's not the only agenda here, folks, but that's one of the agendas. If you look at what we went through over the last 4 or 5 years, you will see clear. If you go read the MK Ultra papers from the CIA that have been declassified, and then you go look at what happened, that was a a worldwide rollout of MK Ultra on the world's population, folks. And I hate to be this blunt about it, and I don't even know if this video will go through because I'm probably hitting way too many triggers right now. But that's what this is, okay? And what's dangerous about that is the fact that I told you that most of these people that accepted that, they are NPCs. They are the Mr. Smiths, or they can act as conduits for the Mr. Smith. And it's quite obvious that what we're experiencing is half of our population, at least, or more than maybe 60 to 70% of our population is completely programmed and unaware that they're programmed. But the double-edged sword, though, folks, to all of this was that some people did start questioning and waking up. And now the questioning and waking up has become a virus to the system. Because now we got thousands of people every day starting to wake up and question this reality. And then quantum physics and all this stuff is starting to add to that, right? People are starting to wake up and see what in the hell is going on here, right? So there's a good side to this, folks. Like, look, I know a lot of times I sound like Mr. Black Pill, Mr. Doom and Gloom. I'm not trying to do that, folks. Look, I'm trying to make you guys aware, okay? I'm trying to wake you guys up so that you can wake others up. We got to be the virus in the matrix, right? And the only way we do that is by waking others up. And once you plant that seed and it takes hold, and all of a sudden they get a crack in that programming, and they start getting rays of light coming in, hitting their spirit, awakening them within, right? Then they start helping carry the torch forward. And then it's like the compound effect, right? If you've ever read that book, The Compound Effect. Exactly. It's the compound effect. It starts multiplying. And it's very hard for them to control that once it starts. And you can see they've been doing everything they can. They're spraying our skies. They're putting the fiends of the graph and the bots of minuscule size, right, into us, and the G6er, the G5er, you know, all these things. Look, I know, folks, it's so ridiculous. Please understand what I'm trying to tell you here. Look, it's ridiculous that we're so censored anymore, but it's the game you got to play to be on these platforms, okay? I know some people would come at me and say, oh, you're just empowering the system by code speak and all. Yeah, but folks, if I don't do that, I won't be here, right? So look, we're going to play their game, and we're going to overcome their game, and we're going to learn how to play around the rules, right? Okay, so there you go. So learn to read between the lines if you're not knowing what I'm talking about. Now, if you do know, then you know, okay? So anyways, folks, hey, that's the silver lining in all this, is that they have, just like the internet was meant to be a tool used to control the population. It was meant to be an artificial Akashic record, just like there is in the higher dimensions, the Akashic record, where you're directly down, you can download any information in the universe you need when you're outside of the body. Well, when you're in the body, they created an artificial version of that called the internet. And the whole point was that they were going to try to use that as a way to control populations, to mass propaganda and control. But what happened is that they lost control of the internet, and it's become a double-edged sword where it allows people across the world now to connect and exchange ideas. It allows us access to ancient texts that we never had access to, that would be hidden up in the Smithsonian and in, you know, grand libraries and in vaults under the Vatican and stuff like that. But now that stuff's making its way into the public. The cuneiform tablets are being translated and put on the internet, okay? Look, folks, if you didn't, before the internet, you would have to go find this stuff in books and take other people's secondhand teaching, or you would have to go to a university and learn how to study those yourself if you would get access. Look, they're losing control because every time they create something to control us, there's a silver lining that awakens us, okay? See, they would tell you, like, just going back to the cuneiform real quick, folks, They will tell you that that's just mythology, right? It's all just ancient stories, it's mythology, it's all make believe. But when you read the Atrahasis, you realize that is not mythology. They're telling a story. The Sumerians' Kings list is not mythology, folks. Look, you read those ancient stories, and yes, there are allegories in them. Probably because the same thing with nowadays. Back then, to get the truth out, you had to hide it in allegories and stuff, right? Because there was still a control system back then, folks. There always has been, okay? They have been trying to control us forever. So obviously, even in ancient Sumer, those scribes that were writing those cuneiform tablets that were inscribing them, obviously they were trying to encode secret teachings in them, and they did it in allegories, okay? So look, but when you read those, you realize there's a whole story of our Genesis, an actual detailed story and explanation of why we're here, what the Homo sapien is. You know, who had a hand in our Genesis, right? And then you cross-reference that to the biblical Genesis story and to other ancient texts, the Egyptian and stuff, and the Vedic, right? And you start realizing, holy smokes, the same stories here across all cultures. But see, they want you to believe it's all mythology and made up religion and all that because they don't want you following those breadcrumbs back. But see, if we didn't have the internet, folks, most of us would have never even accessed that stuff. We would still be in church every Sunday just hearing that the Bible's the total truth, right? And then having them misteach like Elohim's God. You were created in the image of God. No, in the image of Elohim. Come, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. The council of the gods. It even says the Elohim, and it later on says the council of the gods, just like in the council of the Anuna, the Anunnaki, okay? In the cuneiform. Our spirits are in the image of the creator of all. Our bodies are in the image of these Anuna, these Elohim, these bipedal constructs, these characters. The human, the bipedal design is a universal design for avatars throughout the universe, from what people have said that have out of bodies and that astral project and all these other different things, you know, channelers and all this. I mean, whatever you believe about all that, but look, there is an underlying explanation that the bipedal form, no matter what the color, the makeup and all that is, that's like the blueprint for the avatar throughout the universe. Now, there's going to be different versions of that avatar, right? Look, folks, go play a game of Minecraft with your kids. You get to create your own character, and there's skins you can buy, right? You can be a lizard man. You can be a human. You can be a snowman in the game, whatever. The point I'm trying to make is, look, but it's still in that bipedal outline, that bipedal blueprint. Because that's what gives you the hands that you can work and manipulate the physical reality with, right? You have the feet so you can move around, you can run. You got, I mean, all this, the construct of the bipedal form is universal, okay? So, but our looks are all unique, you know? So, anyways, guys, wow. We could keep going on and on. I'm at work. I got to roll, but I think we hit up some very important things, right? I think we went deep on this. I think honestly, out of the three videos, the talks I've done so far on this video game theory, I think today's was, wow, probably deeper than the other two combined. So, sorry, folks. You can hear, man, my sinuses, my throat, man. Whew. I'm struggling here. It's going to be I hope I can get blast through work early today. So, anyways, guys, I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts. And I appreciate your guys' time. This isn't your typical YouTube channel, folks. Look, this isn't high-end production. This is just me talking to you guys, sharing my knowledge that I've gained and my theories that I've come up with over the years. I mean, I've been researching the paranormal and you know, prophecy and all this stuff since I was like about 15, okay? And I'm 45 now, so 30 years. And I'm not saying I'm an expert at all. I'm just a guy that loves researching and trying to figure all this stuff out, and I'm just trying to awaken that love in you guys, okay? But I'd love to hear thoughts. Remember, if you guys are interested in doing the Zoom one-on-one with me, we can talk about whatever you like. You get a copy of the Zoom, and now I'm giving out a gift of purple rhodolite garnets with every Zoom booked. Um, uh, and you'll get a little more, obviously, if you book more with me. I cover the shipping and handling on that. But your time um, for, or sorry, your donation for my time, and then I give you back that copy, my time. We can talk about whatever you like, and you get some rhodolite garnets. Now, one thing stipulation I do want to put on there, folks, I'm going to do that minimally, the rhodolite garnets minimally for an hour booked, okay? I've never even booked a half an hour, to be honest. I think I'll probably just take that off and just minimal do an hour. But to do that, I mean, because these things are valuable and they're rare, so I want to do it for those that are, spending some time with me, right? So I love the connection. So, anyways, folks, hit me up if you're interested in the Zoom, and I'll do a little video here soon going over my rhodolite collection, so you guys can see what you're looking at here. And I've been working on extracting the gems out of the rock schism or matrix, whatever you want to call it, that typically encrusts the garnets. And I've been working with muriatic acid and trying to get just that perfect water acid dilution mix and the timing just right, so that it eats away the outside rock matrix, like the sandstone and all that, but leaves that gem without damaging it. So it's a very fine line, because the gem is a lot harder on the scale than the rock you're trying to eat away. But if you go too long in the acid, it will start to actually eat at the gem too. So it's like you got to find that perfect spot. And maybe what I'll do in the future is I get better at that, then I'll send only cleaned out gems. But right now they're going to be raw gems, raw garnets, so that you'll have to figure out, yourself, how you want to clean those up and all that. So you can, you can use sandpaper, different types of sandpapers to wear that off and kind of, put I guess, a cheap version of a facet on these gems. There's different techniques you can do. Or if you'd have a friend or family member that knows how to actually facet a gem, there you go then, right? If you can get. So anyways, guys, hey, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll talk to you later.